Hey everybody, Casual Movie Guys back here. Today I'm talking about Insidious Chapter 3. So Insidious Chapter 3 is the third Insidious film in the whole franchise, and it takes place a few years before the events of the first film. And what we have here is a young girl named Quinn Brenner, played by Stephanie Scott, who tries to contact her recently deceased mother. And along the way, she does not contact her mother, but she contacts a dark entity, which then latches onto her, and thus we have our movie. So going into this movie, I was a little worried because the original director, the first two, James Wan, was stepping down, and the screenwriter of the first two was taking a step up and becoming the director of the film, Lee Wanell. I was pretty overall impressed with this movie, though. I went into it with kind of low expectations because I was a fan of the first Insidious film. I thought it was a pretty decent horror flick and had some really good scares in it, but the second film really kind of fizzled out for me. It just wasn't nearly as good as the first one, and it just felt really flat. So I was not going into this movie with high expectations, but I was pleasantly surprised when this movie actually was scary. It did its job. I was not going into it expecting a super well-made movie, and it isn't a bad movie at all. I think it's pretty well made, and it does its job by scaring me. There was definitely a few times when I was pretty creeped out. There's some specific scenes in this film that are just really creepy and disturbing, and they just really get under your skin, and that's kind of what I wanted from this movie. One of the problems that this movie kind of has is that in the third act of the film, it really fizzles out. The first two acts are really good. The first act is kind of setting up its characters. You kind of find out what's going on. The second act, you get a lot of good scares. There, like I said, really good scenes where you're kind of crawling in your skin. You don't really want to watch the screen because it's really disturbing and stuff. There's a lot of scenes like that in the second act. And then the third act happens, and it kind of falls a little flat. They throw in some odd things that I just don't think really fit the creepy tone that it had built up previously. Another negative is the fact that even though it does use less jump scares than the second film, there were too many in this film, more than I would like. But at least they did take it down a notch from the previous film, which is really good. Another problem that I had with this movie is the fact that it wasn't that great of a story. It's kind of the same thing that we've already seen before. It isn't really anything new or special, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I just think it had an opportunity to maybe propose a new, interesting, original story, and it kind of just used the same formula that we already seen. But it's getting harder and harder to create more original things. I understand that, but I just wish it would have done something a little different than, what we've already seen from a lot of other movies. But another positive is that the acting all around is pretty solid. Stephanie Scott does a good job. The guy who plays the father, I don't know the name off the top of my head, but he does a good job. And like I said, the directing style is really good. It does a good job of kind of separating itself from the first two films because it is a different director, but it also is able to stay connected to the roots of the whole franchise, which I liked. So it was different, but still the same in a way, and I really enjoyed that. Overall, I'm going to give this movie probably a 6.5 out of 11. It would have gotten a 7 for me if the final act of the film had stayed strong and continued with the tone that the previous parts of the film had built up, but like I said, fizzled out. Other than that, nothing much I can really say about this movie. I'm the Casual Movie Guy, and if you want to hear more from me, you should definitely hit that subscribe button. Make sure to like this video, check out some of my other ones, and I'm out.